Muted.
All right. So like I said, today we're going to be talking about AmeriCorps and federal work study. So first, we're going to talk about federal work study. So federal work study is a really great program that provides part-time jobs for undergraduate and graduate students that have financial need. So the students are actually paid through their financial aid package from the university, so not necessarily or not at all from the campus kitchen, but they could still be working for the campus kitchen. And the program has a wide range of positions, but a lot of them are community service focused, or they'll be related to what the student's studying. So they're not necessarily like in the library or in the cafeteria or something like that. And I know I did work study, and it was really great. I worked actually for a homeless shelter in DC, so they have a ton of really great opportunities. So the first step to see if your school even offers federal work study program is to go to your school's financial aid office and ask them if they have that. And then from there, you want to go on and see how to set up a position at your university and how you could get one for your campus kitchen. And now we're going to talk about AmeriCorps. So AmeriCorps is actually a program of the Corporation for National and Community Service, which hopefully all of you can see my screen and you can see this lovely image here. So AmeriCorps is one of 3 programs along with Senior Corps and Social Innovation Fund. And within AmeriCorps, there are 3 different kind of types of service that you can do, or 3 branches. So there's NCCC and FEMA, VISTA, and state and national positions. And we're going to talk about all of those. So first, just AmeriCorps a little more generally. It's a national service program, so every year it has more than 75,000 Americans participating in it. And the participants are at nonprofits, schools, community groups, public agencies, lots of other things all across the country, and it's full-time and, like I said, service. And the 3 branches of AmeriCorps are the state, national, NCC, and VISTAs. So first we're going to talk about state and national. So these are members that help organizations expand services, build capacity, develop partnerships, work with volunteers, manage volunteers, leverage resources, and create programs for the organization. They are mainly direct service, they do capacity building, but there's a big difference between the state and national and VISTAs, which I'll get to in a second, and that state and national AmeriCorps positions are direct service and VISTAs are not. And then the AmeriCorps, NCCC, and FEMA Corps they actually don't apply to campus kitchens, so campus kitchens can't have these positions, but I just thought I would quickly explain them so you know what the differences are. So these ones, these are teams that address more like critical issues in communities. So FEMA directly does natural disaster, or works directly with recovery of like natural disasters, so like Hurricane Katrina, for example. And then the AmeriCorps NCC works in communities. They're teams that go into communities and do community service, and those are actually only based in specific locations, which I don't have, but you can find that on the website if you're interested at all. And again, so campus kitchens can't actually have these positions, but I just thought I would explain them. And then AmeriCorps VISTA. So VISTA stands for Volunteers in Service to America, and these are people who are placed with nonprofits who work on capacity building, so again, not direct service, and poverty alleviation. So they're a full year, full-time, just like the other AmeriCorps members, but they work more on a specific project, and they do capacity building. And there's also AmeriCorps VISTA Summer Associate Program, which Laura B. is going to again talk about a little bit later, but these are summer positions for 8 to 10 weeks, and it's an opportunity for the VISTA to actually do community service through an already existing VISTA project. So this is, I know it's a little confusing because the summer associate can do direct service, but it's just those summer ones that can. And then just some tips that we have. We're going to hear from some campus kitchens in a minute about their experiences in getting AmeriCorps positions, but some tips from us, from the national office, about how to secure vistas. So your University Service Learning Office can write a request to the state office, who administers the campus compact vistas. Your university can also apply for a VISTA through a national service corps like Hunger Free America, which used to be NICA, and that's where the wonderful Emma in our office, she was placed through NICA, or now Hunger Free America. And then in the future, CKP is hoping that we can have a partnership with Hunger Free America, so you could apply for a VISTA subgrant through us rather than through NICA or a different organization. So now we're going to hear a little bit about how to get AmeriCorps broadly. And I'm going to unmute everyone. Okay, there we go. So first we're going to hear from the campus kitchen at Augsburg.
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, just checking. So this is Allison from Campus Kitchen at Augsburg, and we have had a VISTA position for 2 years now, and we just got approved for our 3rd year of a VISTA. It's a 3-year position, so after next year we'll either have to rework the position or find a new way to get some AmeriCorps members because they've been so great. But we get ours through the Minnesota Campus Compact, and they have a team of AmeriCorps members that are called the Health Corps. So they're specifically working on health disparities, and they're more starting to focus on food. I think last year or 2 years ago we were one of the only ones that had a food-focused one, but that's becoming more and more of a need in the state. And so they're expanding and would love to do more work with food insecurity and sustainable agriculture. And so it was easy for us to get that position or to learn about the position because the Minnesota Campus Compact people actually have their office right here on campus. So we learned about it that way. And then Augsburg has a program called the Health Commons Drop-In Clinic that works on health disparities in the community. And our VISTA is actually shared between the Campus Kitchen and the Health Commons, which works out really great because we are able to share the fee that we pay for having a VISTA. It's $4,000 per year that we have a VISTA member, but because we're sharing it between these 2 programs, it's just $2,000 from each of our budgets. So that's one benefit. And then having a shared VISTA also helps us to reach into more pockets of the college and the community and gives the VISTA a chance to see different aspects of health disparities. So working directly with food with us, and then more in a a drop-in health center setting in the community with Health Commons. And getting the position was really just a matter of talking with different programs on campus that would be interested and were a good fit for sharing a position, and then talking with my supervisor here at Augsburg College and getting the president to be supportive of VISTA. And we're fortunate to have a lot of people that are supportive of service and community engagement, so it wasn't really an issue for us, but the hardest part was just figuring out how can we partner to make this financially feasible and make it a good experience for a VISTA and have enough diverse work in capacity building that they can feel like they're doing meaningful work. And actually both of our VISTAs that we've had so far have been Augsburg alum, and that's been really great because they can just hit the ground running and they don't have to spend a lot of time making those new connections when they start. So we'll see what happens with our 3rd VISTA.
Great, thanks so much. And I actually have a quick question. Allison, did you go into applying for the VISTA knowing that you wanted to split it between the campus kitchen and somewhere else, or did you just kind of realize that splitting it would mean it would be cheaper for the campus kitchen, or did you have that intention all along?
Yeah, so I actually wasn't here when they initially applied for the VISTA position, but from what I've heard, the Health Commons, the organization we share it with, had been doing a shared VISTA with another organization, and their 3-year cycle ran up, and so they were looking for another partnership to be able to continue a different position, and at the same time, we were looking for ways to build our capacity, and so it was just perfect timing between Health Commons needing a new partner and us looking for a partner.
Great. That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I know I just interrupted with a question, but we'll have time for questions at the end too, or you can also always type them in the chat box. So Emily, if you want to go ahead and share your experience with AmeriCorps at Gonzaga University.
Sure. We have had an AmeriCorps member for, I think, 7 years. And we started out, they were written by the center, the grant was written by the Center for Community Action and Service Learning here at Gonzaga, which kind of houses our campus kitchen. And the first 2 years they wrote the grant, and we had a Vista, which was a great help for capacity building and building our programs, which at that time we were doing a lot of expansion and really kind of figuring out who we were as a campus kitchen. And there were some limitations though, because there's a limitation on the amount of direct service that Vistas can do. So at that time we switched, and we have just AmeriCorps members. So they're under the umbrella of AmeriCorps, but they aren't Vistas. And they can do direct service, which at that time was more of what we needed, someone who could work in the garden, work in the kitchen, work with students. So it's really important to kind of take a look at what your campus kitchen needs. If you're looking at capacity building, Vista is definitely the way to go, but not the direct service piece. So we found that very helpful over the years.
Great, thank you. So just to clarify, you had a state and national, or you have a state and national Vista now, right? Or
we
not
have
a Vista, sorry, AmeriCorps member.
AmeriCorps member through Washington Service Corps.
Okay, great. Awesome, thank you. And then Brad at the Campus Kitchen at UGA, if you want to go ahead and share some of your experiences or what your Campus Kitchen has done.
Sure. Well, here at the University of Georgia, we have a connection, we have a network of a couple of different Vistas that work with various service learning projects in the town of Athens. We have one place with Campus Kitchen. We have another with our Council on Aging, which is a big community partner of the university. We have one out at the student garden. And I guess that sort of began because when we first applied for this a couple of years ago, my understanding is that they were all going to be assistants to service learning projects. And normally, something about AmeriCorps and the Vistas is that they have a fair amount of reporting that they need to do back to the state office. The state office, a lot of times, everyone's sort of familiar with the apricot reports that we're submitting. But there's sort of another set of data that if you have a Vista or an AmeriCorps position that you have to report back to the state office for to prove that your Vista or your AmeriCorps member is having an impact on the community. And we're lucky enough, and I guess what I would encourage organizations or campus kitchens that are looking to gain a Vista is to see sort of what other networks out there already have Vistas, because oftentimes the administrative cost or the time spent compiling those reports and being in touch with the state office can be a burden on supervisors, whoever is supervising your Vista. So we are lucky that we have a couple of Vistas that all work together, and that way we can have one person that handles all of their administration as opposed to a bunch of different sub-site supervisors. And so we're lucky enough to have a couple of different projects that have identified Vista needs, so they all work together and all can get sort of housed under the same program here at the University of Georgia. And so that's definitely, I think, a strength of ours is that they're sort of all interconnected and able to share resources.
That's great. Thank you. And then do you guys have work study positions too?
We do. Yeah, I can talk about that for a second if you'd like.
Yeah. That would be awesome.
Sure, yeah. We currently have 2 federal work study students. The cool thing about federal work study, as you were sort of hinting at, Tyler, is that they're not necessarily, their positions can be really open-ended. They're not really restricted to any. I think when most people think of like student workers, you think about working parking lots or being in helping out at the library or working at a cafe or food establishment. But like any office on a university campus can apply to have federal work study students. My understanding is that 75% of the cost comes from the federal government, and that 25% of the cost needs to come from the sponsoring office. So federal work study students, depending on their, as you mentioned, Tyler, their FAFSA form, if they were to apply for federal work study, they're allocated a certain amount of hours or a certain amount of money they can receive by working through federal work study. So from that, about how much of an hours commitment you can expect from a student through a semester. Like, for example, the student that I have now, who's a federal work study student, he was allocated $1,500 through federal work study. Now that averages out, getting paid at a rate of $775, that averages out that he can work around 15 hours a week throughout the semester. And again, 75% of the costs 75% of his wages are being paid by federal work study, and 25% is being paid by our office, the Office of Service Learning. So the important thing, I guess, when you're approaching, if you were to approach someone about trying to have a federal work study position, you just need to be able to afford 25% of the cost, is my understanding. Another thing that's helpful, a good thing to know about federal work study is under the federal law, it says that institutions have to use at least 7% of their work study positions. So this is sort of thinking macro level, sort of university-wide. At least 7% of federal work study positions have to support students working in community service roles. So a lot of schools will utilize federal work study students also as like reading tutors or math tutors or something like that. But definitely work with Campus Kitchen would be a great, it's sort of, if you're approaching somebody about this, you can mention, hey, like this also, a position like this can definitely count toward the community, can count as a community service role, which will help us fulfill a requirement as an institution and also will make you eligible for certain distinctions like the President's Honor Roll, which for some administrators is a big deal because it's actually, that's an honor that's actually administrated through the same program as AmeriCorps, and sort of awards certain higher ed institutions sort of gives them like an A+ on their report card for being community stewards, and so community-oriented federal work study students are a part of that. So that definitely can be part of your pitch when you're approaching an administrator about why you should, what's the justification for having a paid worker with Campus Kitchen. So I know that was a lot, but I'd be happy to answer questions about that. But hopefully that was helpful.
Yeah, that was very helpful. And then we'll get to questions in just a second. But Jenny from Washington Lee, if you have anything you want to add, feel free.
Sure. So we have both an AmeriCorps Vista member and several work study students working with us. I think that work study might vary campus to campus. We actually have both federal work study and then some campus-based, and we don't pay anything for them. So I think probably based on different campuses and how their financial aid offices work, that's going to vary. But we're able to employ work study students, and in addition to helping with some of the hands-on shifts at the kitchen, students have explored grant writing and different fundraisers and help with reporting as well, which is really great to have support on the office side. For Vista, we're in our second year right now of a 3-year grant that my colleague actually applied for. There were no Vistas in our area outside of kind of the Habitat for Humanity Corps, and so we actually applied for our own 4-position project, and so one of those placements is at the Campus Kitchen, and our Vistas have been working on our mobile food pantry, kind of planning and then implementing and expanding that project.
Great. Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions now that we've just heard from some of the campus kitchens? We'll have more time for questions. You can type them in the chat box, but everyone's unmuted on my end, so you can go ahead and ask too if you do. All right, that's okay. We can move on. We'll have more time for questions, like I said. And now we're going to hear from some of CKP's AmeriCorps Vistas. So first we have Emma, and you can see her beautiful picture there. She leads the AmeriCorps Vista in the national office, and she's going to just talk a little bit about what she does here. So Emma, go ahead.
Cool. Thank you, Tyler. So yeah, my name is Emma. I'm the AmeriCorps Vista here at the national office. I started last June, so I've been here for over 6 months. Originally, I came from Indiana. I moved here, like I said, in June. So a little bit, a couple things about my Vista experience. I'll start off with the application process because I know it kind of differs for some positions. So I'm an AmeriCorps Vista, and my sponsoring organization that I work for is through Hunger Free America, which is formerly known as the New York City Coalition Against Hunger. So I actually work for them under AmeriCorps Vista, and then the Campus Kitchen is the one that is the sponsoring site through NICA. So this is the sub-grant that I work for, is the Campus Kitchen project. So it might be a little confusing, but it's just the hierarchy of how it works. So it's AmeriCorps Vista, NICA, and then the Campus Kitchens project, same as Madison. So the application process was a little different for me. There's 2 ways to go about it. You can apply through the AmeriCorps site. If you go through the CNCS and you go through AmeriCorps Vista, you can look through their application site. I actually applied through the CKP directly, and then after I was granted the position, then I filled out the AmeriCorps application. I actually just found that that was quite easier than going through AmeriCorps first. Just because not only was I able to bypass a lot of the red tape with the AmeriCorps website, because I was able to have access to the site because I was already granted the position at CKP. But in other cases, you can go through the AmeriCorps website and do like a web search of kind of where you want to go, what kind of work you want to do, and you could go through that way as well. It just depends on what site you're working with or what kind of type of work you want to do. So here at the national office, like Tyler was saying earlier, Vista's focused mainly on capacity building. Now, how that is different from direct service, capacity building is very much similar to developing systems and support for your organization that will last after your service year. So one example of a project that I did at my first start of the service year was developing a guide, Healthy Eating on a Budget. This modifiable guide can be used past my service year, and I developed tools and resources that can help campus kitchens that want to use the guide, say a customizing guide or supplemental materials. They can be able, other campus kitchens can use that and modify the guide and give it out to clients. That's one way of capacity building within my organization. Another one, a great example, the former Vista last year, Andrea and Kelly at Northwestern, they both worked together to develop a nutrition education curriculum and a garden nutrition education curriculum. So she was able to develop this guide, develop all the materials, and then created it, put it on the pantry. Nicole was able to pilot it, and this was a system and program that not only do I use this year, in the next reoccurring Vistas formally after that, we're all going to be able to use that. So it's a system that is put in place to benefit the organization. So yeah, another thing about my Vista experience, not only do I get to work with Madison, which is really great, but we also have another Vista at Northwestern, Nicole. So it's a 3-gal team pretty much that is working together to improve CKP. Like right now, not only me and Madison are working on a volunteer management guide, so I'm working on a national level, developing national templates, and then Madison is working on the ground level at the campus kitchen level. So we're able to give a two-team perspective on the campus kitchens to help make it easier and more effective for all the affiliate schools. But yeah, I'll roll it off to Madison.
You rock,
to give
Emma.
her. Yay, thanks, girlfriend.
Well, yeah, my name's Madison, and I'm the AmeriCorps Vista at the Campus Kitchen at UMass Boston. So I'm working similar to Emma. I'm working technically for Hunger Free America, formerly known as the New York City Coalition Against Hunger. And we're kind of like on loan. That's how I kind of like think about it. We're on loan from Hunger Free America to Campus Kitchen. And so my application process is similar to Emma's. I actually knew my supervisor. I applied like directly to her through Facebook actually. So that's kind of a different way to go about it. So I applied to the position first, and then I think what they call it is you're a sponsored applicant by the site. So you are kind of given preference because the site sponsors you in the AmeriCorps application process. So that was really great. I got to go to my site before my service and meet who I was going to be working with, which was great. I had a whole like summer intern team, and I got to meet them, and that was great. So I had a little bit of a different like non-conventional experience. I think it's definitely I think the AmeriCorps website is really overwhelming if you're looking for AmeriCorps positions.
I agree.
There's just like so many, and you're just like, how am I supposed to narrow this down? So I think a lot of times people post AmeriCorps positions on different websites. Like I know ours was through Idealist. If you guys have ever heard of that website, that's like a really good website to look for jobs. I think it's like almost better to apply through a site if you can. I think it definitely gives you a leg up in the process, because I know at least for the Anti-Hunger and Opportunity Corps that Hunger Free America manages, that Emma and I are part of, I know that they get like 1,000 applications for like 60 positions. So there's just like a lot of people in that pool. So it's better to apply directly to a site. And so what I've been working on, some of the major things, so yeah, we talked about the volunteer management guide. So I've been kind of like working on in the 6 months that I've been here, just because it's kind of been a work in progress. Like as I learn things, I kind of go back and add it in, and hopefully it's kind of centric to my site, but there's definitely a lot of stuff that the national level could take from, so that's why Emma and I are starting to work on it right now. I also wrote a grant for a school garden from the Whole Foods Foundation, which I actually find out about on Monday, so that's really exciting. Hopefully we're granted the money to start the garden. I know the school is super deserving, and that'll be a really great way to expand our reach in the Boston area, so wish me luck on that.
Fingers crossed.
And then one of my major focuses when I first started was a large-scale fundraiser. It was called the Ride for Food, and it was I think I did the 25-mile bike ride, but I think the longer one was the 50-mile bike ride. And we raised money through that for the Campus Kitchens project, which was really exciting. We did a lot of fundraisers at different breweries and restaurants, and did raffles and things like that. So that was a really exciting time. That was like all summer. And then I've done a lot of work just like developing programming and making it more sustainable, and building it up so that, I guess, yeah, just building its capacity. They really drill that into your head that that's what you're doing, so you end up using it a lot in your phrase. So I've been really developing our leadership team structure and trying to make it a sustainable sources of volunteers for all of the components of our program. And right now I'm in the process of spearheading our nutrition education for the spring and hopefully for the summer, as well as some food aid assistance programming. So that's kind of how my year has been. Trying to think if there's anything else.
If I can actually tag along with that, I was just thinking, working through Hunger Free America and working through VISTA, there's a ton of support for the VISTAs. Not only do you have resources, and when you complete a year of VISTA service, you actually at the end either get an education award or a stipend. So say you have student loans to pay, or if you wanted to go to school or any type of furthering education, you can apply for that. And then also NICA, as she was saying, the Anti-Hunger Opportunity Corps, there's a ton of resources. You have a VISTA leader, which is somewhat like another supervisor that you can reach out to for any type of help, assistance, money-wise or work-wise. And then also one cool thing about our VISTA year service, we just came back from Houston. So we just did a 6-month mid-year conference. So we all the people that we met at our orientation 6 months ago, we met again a couple weeks ago, sorry. So it was really cool to be able to not only see the people that we met 6 months ago, but to like really camaraderie and share best practices and resources. And then we're going to be able to do that again in May. So we're able to keep the flow going between all of us and really work together as a group, as a VISTA group.
And I see Ashley's question on the side. I'm not 100% sure about what changes I would make necessarily. That would be something, I don't want to necessarily volunteer here, but maybe something to talk about with Laura B, because she's the one that's been getting all the vistas, I believe, for Campus Kitchen. But the second piece, housing is not provided generally as part of your VISTA term. I think, yeah, I don't think that that's required or is offered. I know that through the Anti-Hunger and Opportunity Corps, they do help you with 1 month's rent if you need it, up to I think like $450. They can help subsidize your rent for 1 month because they do realize that there's times where you're struggling. Also, a new change is that you can have a job, you can have a second job on the side as long as it doesn't interfere with your work. And there is a moving allowance that you get, I think, which is up to $500 that you can put towards security deposit on a new apartment or just like renting a moving truck, things like that.
I think that having a second job might vary from position to position, because I think my VISTA position was not allowed to have a second job.
Well, that was new this year.
Oh, was that new?
They're allowed to have a second job.
Yeah, that came down from the Corporation for National Community Service, so that is a national change this year to all AmeriCorps programs.
That is good. Also with the housing, I know here at Gonzaga, if housing has been an obstacle for either an AmeriCorps or a VISTA, sometimes if there is housing available on campus, they have helped with that in the past. So that's something you could check into with your university.
Yeah, I think that's site to site. It depends.
Yeah. This is Jenny at Washington Lee. I don't think that offering that is necessarily a requirement in terms of VISTA, but it does make it more appealing of a position in terms of recruitment and filling your position.
Yeah, great. Thanks so much for sharing, Emma and Madison. That was really helpful. And Ashley, I'll get to the first part of your question in just a second. Laura is just going to go over some of the VISTA positions we'll have for CKP nationally.
All right, we are super excited to share that we are just about to start hiring our AmeriCorps VISTA positions for this coming year. And this year, not only do we have the 3 that currently exist in our DC office, at the Campus Kitchen at UMass Boston and the Campus Kitchen at Northwestern, but we actually were granted a 4th VISTA position for this coming year, which is going to be at the Campus Kitchen at Marquette University. So we definitely encourage all of you to share this news with students at your school who are graduating and with alums from your Campus Kitchens. We love hiring former Campus Kitchen people for our AmeriCorps VISTA positions. So we'll have 1 here in our national office, as I mentioned, who will work on developing best practices for the whole network, a lot of the things you see on the pantry and resources
that we share with all of you on our webinars. And then our 3 vistas who will be at different Campus Kitchen locations will work on building capacity for those sites, a variety of different things, but a lot of that will be, volunteer management and setting up new community relationships and partnerships and programs. Each of those will be a little bit different. We'll be posting those positions in mid-February, so definitely check back after the 22nd. We'll share that on social media. We can also email that directly to you. So let us know if you're interested or if anyone else at your Campus Kitchen is. Those VISTA positions will start in June, so the recruitment timeline starts pretty early. We definitely encourage you to get students on your campuses thinking about those now, since we have to make those decisions and do that recruitment pretty far in advance of June. The other thing that we'll be updating you on in the next few weeks are our summer associate positions. We applied for those together with our full year positions, but they haven't yet notified agencies about those. The difference with those is that the 4 listed at the top are full year positions in capacity building roles, whereas the summer associate VISTA positions are direct service roles. And they're just for the summer, they're 8 to 10 weeks. And so those folks can be in the kitchen preparing meals, out on deliveries, doing nutrition education, so a little bit of a different role. They're really, really great for Campus Kitchens in order to sustain their operations throughout the summer when lots of students are away. But we would love to have more of your students in these roles next year, so keep us posted if you're interested.
Great, thanks. And yeah, as Laura said, we've had a lot of AmeriCorps members come from like volunteering at their Campus Kitchen at their university and being familiar with the program, so it's kind of like a great segue into your professional career or just continuing to do this kind of work. And one more note is that if you do have an AmeriCorps position at your school, you can send the link to us, link to the job listing, and we'll help advertise it to our national network. So we'll post on Facebook and Twitter and include it on our website and post in LinkedIn and stuff. So it's just another good way to kind of make sure people are seeing it and applying. So Ashley had a really great question in the chat box. She said, if you proposed getting an AmeriCorps VISTA in the past but were unsuccessful, does anyone have any suggestions to make an administration feel that it's a good financial investment? So kind of showing the value of getting an AmeriCorps position for your Campus Kitchen. So if anyone wants to chime in, that would be great.
So you were told no by the university?
I think that's what it sounds like.
I would say really highlight what the Campus Kitchen is currently doing, and numbers speak. Get those meal numbers out there, the programming that you've done. Really highlight the accomplishments of your Campus Kitchen, and say we're ready to take this to the next level, and this is what this position could do for us.
I think framing it in terms of the number of students engaged in the work is a good idea as well. Oftentimes the administration will listen to students more than faculty and staff sometimes. And so if you have students from your leadership team saying, an AmeriCorps position could help us grow and do this and engage this many more students in the work, I think that might help.
I also really encourage Campus Kitchens to share the results of our student leadership development surveys with the administration. I think having those numbers to share are really powerful. We can share both the national results and of your individual Campus Kitchen results, but being able to say to your administrators, as a result of our Campus Kitchen, our student leaders are more likely to get a job after they graduate. They're more confident in their leadership skills. They're more likely to engage in service after they graduate. I think being able to share that data is really, really valuable. So definitely let your program manager know in the spring after we do the student leadership surveys if you want your individual results in addition to the national data.
Great, thanks. Does anyone else have any more questions?
I have one more thing to add that kind of speaks to Ashley's question on the financial investment. Somebody earlier mentioned a $4,000 cost share for an AmeriCorps member. I just wanted to say that, like work studies, that also varies depending on who you're applying to for your AmeriCorps members. It can be a different fee depending on which agency you're working with, and then even with that same agency, it often varies depending on what your program budget is. So they have kind of different levels of cost shares depending on your individual budget.
Any other questions? All right, if not, you can always send me an email afterwards. I'll make sure to send out the presentation to everyone. And thank you so much for everyone for sharing about AmeriCorps members and work study. It was very helpful. And thank you to Emma and Madison for sharing their experiences. So thanks, guys, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Tyler.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Tyler.
Bye.